Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock here, practicing necromancer. And today, I'd like to just run something by you. I've been getting a lot of questions about how do you know a fake from a real practitioner? And this is done by their works, by their background. But the way I look at it is like this, and I have to agree with one of my elders, is that if you are a true practitioner, you're going to have an official business account. That's number one. Okay, that's just plain number one. Number two, always question their level of knowledge. The reason for that is because you got many fakes out there that claim to be a former practitioner of such and such religion. When in reality, when you look at every single video they put out, they show no knowledge of the craft whatsoever that they claim to have been a part of. That's number two. So always question their level of knowledge. Always make sure they have an official business account, like say, let's go with PayPal or let's say Amazon. That's where they offer their services, their material, their goods, if you will. It's called consumerism. So what I would recommend that you ask is, let's say, for an example, let's say you're dealing with somebody that claims to have been a part of Santeria, okay? Or say Pedro Mayambi, okay? What's the difference between Pedro Mayambi and Pedro Monte? Let's see if they can answer that question, okay? For those of you who do not know, the difference is that Pedro Monte is the spiritual application of of the black magical Mayambi. Okay, and it mean in the religion it goes back to the Congo region of Africa. It is a Caribbean style practice, the Dominican Republic to Cuba down into South America, all the way up into North America. So, understanding that this is a spiritual practice, not just a physical practice, like say, let's go with black magic. Okay, let's say you're going to deal with gunpowder, you're going to deal with sigilliums. You know, what is your intention through this, and what can you do with just these items, like say the Nganga, for an example? What is a Nganga? Well, in the Cuban tradition, guess what? That is a cauldron. Go back into Africa, and it is a palero, okay, a priest. See, an actual practitioner of these religions would know this. The other aspect of this is that they work with ancestral lineage. Ancestral, that means your ancestors, your spiritual lineage of your family line. More so, the Orisha are not demons. Pedro Mayambi and Santeria are not devil worship. You want to work with demons, get into Quimbanda, get into Brujeria. That means witchcraft, by the way. Brujeria means witchcraft. Okay, so I would ask, what are the different types of practitioners in these religions, and what titles can they hold and work themselves up to? Okay, over time, and how many years does it take to be able to be promoted to the next stage? These are questions that I would recommend that you ask if you go to anyone in the African Caribbean community. Okay. Now, if you're into going to a Satanist, for an example, then yeah, you would be dealing with fallen angels. You would be dealing with demonic lords and everything like that from, like, say, the Goetia. Many satanic community practitioners are going to work with, like, the Ars Goetia or the Grimoire system. If you're going by the Cathedral of the Black Goat, then you're going to be dealing with the Black Raven. You're going to be dealing with the Constitution of Pope Honorius. Grimoire of Honorius, you're going to be dealing with the Grand Grimoire, the Black Pellet, even. And you're going to be dealing with things like the Grimoire of Armadale. So it would be wise and prudent of you to get in contact with a PDF version and an actual physical copy of the book so that you can test the actual practitioners on what they practice and who they can call upon. Certain individuals you can call on for a number of different things. Like, say, if you're going for necromantic knowledge, then you would go for Murmur, Bifram, and Seer. If you're going for war, then you would go with Abraxas or Samael. You know, now Samael is in lust, so you can call upon him for both the lust aspect of vengeance, but also his wrath when dealing with an enemy. So, understanding the beings that the person claims to work with, what are the applications of working with these beings? If you're going to do a ritual for me, what different types of rituals and product can you put out that is going to be beneficial to me as the client? Okay. For an example, when my clientele goes to my business partner, he comes to me with the knowledge that he has been given and says, "What can we do for this client?" And I think about it for a moment and I go, "Okay, I would recommend a phylactery of some kind. Let's say, for an example, a amulet or a talisman. Both are for protection. One is hung, the other is worn. Now, if they're into someplace that is more hostile, or needing more protection, then you could utilize a relic, or a totem of some kind. Let's go with a totem that would be able to be used for, say, energy manipulation, if you will. That's one way of dealing with it. Another way is doing some kind of sigil magic on the individual that's causing the damage. I would recommend things like adjuration or reversal, protection, wardings, if you will, that will protect that individual. A lot of times, all you need is the person's name or address. If you're into voodooism, then you got other applications. You got powders, various different types of powders that you can utilize. You got different types of spells, and you can utilize dolls, griskus bags, mojo bags, voodoo bags. You got a lot of different things out there that you can do. So if you're going to go to a black, magician, a so-called proclaimed practitioner, you want to ask questions. What kind of tools can you use? What is your level of understanding of this religion? You know, and really find out if they have an actual business account. This is going to benefit you and help you not get dragged into being scammed, coerced, or used just for money, which is basically fraud, if you will. This stuff will help you and benefit you. This is why I always recommend knowledge to you guys. Knowledge is power, and true power is undefiled wisdom. Use your heads, you know, get creative, For an example, one of the things that I've used in the past is called a divot box. Okay. I have also used more modern tools like, say, for an example, a hexing jar or a sweeten jar. And I can use that together with, say, let's go with brimstone powder, brimstone powder, sulfur powder is what it's normally called in modern tongue. Grave dirt. Let's go with different types of herbs, like, say, let's go with Oriolander, white Oriolander. Let's go with yew, hem. Let's go with hemlock. Either water or regular, it doesn't matter. And then you can go in with, say, for an example, crushed bones, you know, candle wax, everything that you would use for that particular rite, depending if you're doing it to do a love spell, a lust spell in satanic terms. If you're dealing with, say, a compassion ritual where you're trying to heal somebody or you're trying to get trouble out of their way, or just flat out cursing and hexing somebody. It all comes down to the tools and your intention. And it comes down to, like I said, what you can do and what level of knowledge that you have. And that's going to dictate, between you and the client or the person that you're going to for help. How is this going to work and benefit me? Okay. Check with their knowledge, check on their business account, and check with their actual traditions. Okay. One of the things that I do recommend is go out there and ask around. Okay. Let's say, for example, I'm going to throw E.A. Koetting out there. Okay. He's a great friend and a great brother, knows a lot about sorcery. He's well read and well knowledge, and everybody knows who he is. So I'm going to just pick on him for a little bit or for a moment. And I'm going to do the same thing with Anna Nora. Just out of an example. Okay. Or better yet, instead of Anna Menora, let's go with the Last Frontier medium, Linda Lyons, or Melinda Lyons, I believe is what her name is. I think she said she was from Fairbanks, Alaska. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. It's been a while since I followed her channel. Now, on one hand, you have a well-published author, okay, in a group of authors that associated with a lot of different practitioners. He's got a great reputation. He's got a great business going. Yes, he got a bad rap based off one instance where a crazy person committed murder, okay, a couple years back. With that set aside, you look at his sales, you look at his popularity. It's still better than ever. That would be like looking at Bokor Leonard Elmera, okay, a well-known Haitian voodoo practitioner. Okay, his account got shut down, and in less than 2 months, he came back and doubled his followers. He doubled his clientele. This is somebody that knows what they're doing. Okay, they have the knowledge. They can get under there and do a video on any given topic and give you references, sources, and depictions of those practices. And not just that, but guide you to their own webpage, their business account. So now let's talk about Melinda Lyons, the Last Frontier medium. Now, some of the things that she said and put out, I agree with. There's some people out there that are just too fucked up in the head for their own good. But here it is. She claims to have been dragged to hell for 1,000 years. She claimed to have been raped. She claimed this and that by Baphomet. And anybody who's ever studied demonology can tell you that Baphomet is a guardian of the underworld. He is a guardian of hell. Okay? Second of all, he's associated with groups like the Knights of Templar, not just well-known occultism practices. If you want to go even further with this, you can see how he's similar to Cerberus, the three-headed dog, who guards the armory of hell. Oh, okay. Has nothing to do with torture, has nothing to do with anything that she depicted. Okay. But yes, she's going to whine about her followers. Why do I not have the followers? Why am I not popular? Perhaps you might want to get your head out of your ass, stop spewing lies, and do your fucking homework. You know what I'm saying? Do your homework. Get into the grimoires. Get into demonolatry. Become a demonolator, as you claim to be. But yet, you're just scraping the surface of what these beings can do. That's like saying that John Ramirez was a practicing Satanist. For those of you who do not know, John Ramirez was claimed to have been a former Satanist, a high priest. His very first video that he ever put out was called "The Dangers of the occult, Santeria, which is an African Caribbean, has nothing to do with knowledge the Orisha. Anybody who practices Santeria knows that it's based off life, has nothing to do with hexes with demons. Palo Mayombe, on the other hand, deals with black magic, deals with calling on the Orisha and spirits for baneful magic, wrathful magic, even, or even personal gain. Wow. Okay. So where does Satanism come in? Where does devil worship come in? Videos of him doing interviews in front of occult or metaphysical shops, he can't even tell you what the items are that's in the window. That's devil worship. They're putting that a statue of Jesus next to Santa Morte. Now, who's Santa Morte? La Santa Morte is Saint Death, Holy Death. She is a guardian, a protector, and everything in between, a provider. Wow. Okay, and there's an actual religion that surrounds her. Wow. Okay. So ask yourselves this. If you don't question, if you don't do a little bit of research for yourself, if you don't ask about their business account, how are they? What are their works like? Then you're probably going to end up getting scammed. About 7 times out of 10, you're going to get scammed. It's got nothing to do with popularity. It's got nothing to do with being rich and famous. It's about doing the work, having the knowledge to perform those rituals and the workings that you claim to do. If you're going to do a curse or some kind of hex, you're not going to use a fucking shoebox. You're going to actually go out and get a wooden box, in the shape of a coffin, or you're going to get a box and turn it into a Dybbuk box, which, by the way, is a Jewish box, by the way, of black magic. So just some things for you to consider and take into. Always back up what you preach with numerous sources, and always back up what you claim you know. Make yourself available to the public. All right? I got to go get my son. School's letting out. So I hope this has been educational. Hope it's been enlightening for you. And until the next time, feel free to hit that notification button and that subscribe button. All right? Have a good one.